Just quieten down, baby.
Per capita export value.
Libraries.
Minister, are you embarrassed by your behavior today?
There's a lot of bleeding hearts around.
Do you have the fortitude or the gonads to stand up and come across here and say that to me, you son of a bitch?
Just watch me.
He certainly went too far, Mr. Speaker, when I saw him stick his tongue out.
Contemptuous disregard.
More than a slab of bacon talking here.
The disappointment you also feel is my responsibility.
I lost my temper. What is the nature of your thoughts?
The word was FART.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Canadian Politics is Boring. I've come up with a new catchphrase.
Please.
The podcast for people who hate politics but care about stuff.
That's gold, man. I don't think we even need to try a second one. I think you nailed it right there.
There you go.
I think we can just quit the show now, actually.
Our work
good.
is done.
We're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've made it.
I care about stuff, but I hate politics. Welcome. That's you. This is the show for you.
Hi, I'm Jesse. This is Reese.
They know us. It's fine.
Well, no.
Apart from, unless, if you don't.
That's what I'm saying. There's
it's fine.
you gotta,
If you're new to this show, then hi.
We've grown quite significantly over the past 2 years, and it wasn't all at once, Reese. Okay,
no, I've gated it. No one else can listen to this from now on. So we're all friends here now. We haven't done small talk. Although someone did comment on our YouTube saying it took 5 minutes to get to the content, and I'm like, I know this, but this is a podcast. I don't know what you expect. You're going to have us talking about, I ate a really great pizza last night alongside stuff.
I feel YouTube.
Do you like my accent then?
Yeah, no, it's great. Just don't just ignore the comments, man. It was. I was listening to Conan O'Brien on Conan Needs a Friend, which is arguably the best podcast in the world. It's the man's on all the time. I'm almost convinced that he records for 4 hours and cuts out 90% of everything, just keeping nothing but gold, because it's fucking hilarious. Anyway, I should be promoting our own podcast, not an already intensely successful podcast.
So if you're already disappointed, you can leap over to that one.
Yeah. But they were talking about he just never reads reviews ever. And his guests all agree oh yeah, no, you don't read reviews, man. Are you nuts? Never. I would argue that also don't read YouTube comments unless you're special, for a podcast on YouTube, it's very impersonal. Whereas if I'm talking directly to a camera, like the Vlog Brothers, and uploading it, then I feel
the Vlog Brothers.
Yeah, the Vlog Brothers, man. Don't you know the Vlog Brothers?
It's just a funny name.
They're amazing. They're John and Hank Green. Do you not know who the Vlog Brothers are? Seriously?
I thought their names were Tony, Eddie, and Vlog. No, I don't know. I don't know who they are.
Anyway, I'm just saying I don't think
the name makes me laugh. We should call ourselves the Podcast Pals.
No.
Well, they're two brothers who vlog, so they're the Vlog Brothers.
The Podcast Pals sounds like an after-school special. Okay, we're going to solve a mystery together. Okay, the mystery of the missing cheese.
Exactly. I ate it. There we go.
That's it.
There we go.
But you were saying that someone was complaining that it took a while before it got
5 minutes until we actually, but they stuck with it. In fairness,
that's it. But then we also had some reviews saying how much they enjoyed. Finally, they're talking about their lives now. Maybe they're being sarcastic. I don't fucking know, but it's hard to come across in text.
My life isn't. I don't know. I don't.
They just.
Some people have amazing stories and crazy stuff happens to them all the time. I that doesn't really happen as much.
I pull it out of you. You had the mystery of the garbage on your driveway.
Yeah, where did
incident.
It go? Who left it? Nobody knows.
The most exciting thing to happen to you in
exactly
5 years. Yeah,
that was a big deal. I still do sleep over that. Anyway, enough about. Remember, we're finally at the mind control in Montreal episode.
Yay!
Have you ever had your mind controls, Jesse?
No, and I've never actually had. I've never had. What's it called? Oh my God. The mind thing where you're up on stage. Hypnotism. I've never been hypnotized.
No.
either. But I've watched it. I've done it. I've hypnotized people. That's
Really?
true. Yes. No, seriously. Okay. I don't know.
You draw a line towards a chicken.
I mean, like, I was a teenager in high school and I learned hypnotism and I tried it on people and it really seemed to work. So, like, take that as you will.
It does sound a lot like bullshit, though.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
There's one time in high school I hypnotized everyone. Yeah, me too. I made a functional nuclear device.
So I was going to school with a guy in high school, and I was really excited to learn how to I learned how to hypnotize people. And we were on our break, and so he wanted me to hypnotize him. So I'm like, all right. So I spent like a good 20 minutes doing this. Now, if you believe in hypnotism, apparently, you need to bring them into it, have the suggestion, and then bring them out of the hypnotism. And if you don't bring them out of the hypnotism, then you can kind of remain in this sort of fugue state where the suggestion kind of solidifies itself for a lot longer. Apparently. I don't fucking know. So I brought him into this state of hypnotism because he asked me to, and he's there and he's very suggestive. And so I didn't have anything prepared because I wasn't planning on hypnotizing him. So I just came up with something on the spot. We're in high school, by the way, like in a little rec area to the side. So we're just doing this. And I'm like, every time you hear the school bell, you will immediately go to class and take out your notebook and study really hard. I don't know. I was literally on the top of my head and it wasn't very creative. So, and then that happened. And then the school.
Like saying, I'm going to hypnotize you and I've brainwashed. So when you're hungry, you eat food.
No, hold on. This actually gets good. So after I said that, not long afterwards, coincidentally, the school bell goes off. So it's like time to get to your class. I'm like, oh shit, sorry, can't continue. All right. Yeah, see you guys. And we just kind of leave. I didn't take him out of a state of hypnotism, which again, if you believe in this shit, apparently that's important. Like weeks go by and apparently his friends were like, what is wrong with him? Is he okay? Because he apparently has been like a zombie for days.
I don't think.
This happened. This was my
teenager.
This wasn't like happened to a friend of mine. Like this was my story. This is actually
no. But I just can't imagine a teenager learning hypnotism, trying to do it on someone for the first time.
It wasn't the first time. I've done it before.
Oh,
I did.
Yeah, it was an amateur hypnotist.
It was definitely amateur
in their lunch break. Doing it, and then weeks later, it's still affecting someone.
Let me finish. So weeks go by, and his friends are like, "What is wrong with him? He's zombified. All he does is study. All he does, he doesn't talk to anybody, doesn't go anywhere else. He just comes to school and studies and goes home. It was crazy." And then at the end of the month, up on the outside plaque, there was his name, Student of the Month, and it was. I swear to God. So like. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't, maybe it was all bullshit, maybe it was a long fucking prank that he thought would be really funny to do long term to see where it would go. The prank being, let's just study really fucking hard for a month and see if anyone noticed.
Well, Jesse,
really?
you missed your calling because you weren't part of the Montreal experiments.
Oh, nice segue. Okay.
Yeah.
Well done. Nice way to shut me up, Reese. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So you tell me, you must have heard of MK Ultra.
Yeah, they made a movie with fucking what's his name? It was a comedy
Batman
movie. Yep, there it is.
Yeah. So
yes, I've heard of it. I don't know a lot about it.
It was the code name.
A soldier sort of.
Well, it was a code name for an illegal human experimentation program designed and undertaken by the CIA, and the experiments were intended to develop procedures and identify drugs such as LSD that could be used in interrogations to weaken people and force confessions through brainwashing and psychological torture. Kind of like what you were doing in school.
Except more fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a large chunk of this was done in Canada, in Montreal. So there was a Scottish psychiatrist.
So what did it have to do with drugs again?
I'll get into the detail of it. So it happened between 1957 and 1964. So there's this Scottish psychiatrist called Donald Ewan Cameron, who was funded by the CIA.
No. You say that with a thick Scottish accent.
Donald Ewan Cameron.
Is that your Scottish accent?
No. So he was funded by them.
Every time I ask you to do a different accent than Welsh, you just turn into Batman.
I can't do it.
It's just Batman for you.
Yeah.
So, do an Australian accent.
So he was at McGill University. He'd left. He was born in Scotland, and then he moved to Canada to work at a mental hospital in Manitoba, and then he eventually became like a professor, and he'd done research on sensory deprivation and memory. And he developed this theory called psychic drive-in to cure schizophrenia, which he'd used on patients and adapted for MK Ultra. So basically, what he would do was
every time I see or hear MK Ultra, I can't help but think of
it's become like a big conspiracy thing.
No, but I can't help but think of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I mean, like, I'd like to think the two are related somehow.
Mortal Kombat Ultra. So
yeah, right. Seriously.
Yeah. So his method of psychic driving was basically playing audio on a loop permanently to just embed it in your brain. And he was experimenting on mental patients, saying, "Hey, I'm going to just play you this song on a loop, or these words on a loop, or whatever it was."
So mental patients.
Yeah, people who were in mental institutions at the time,
and he'd played a song over and over again,
and also they did drug-induced sleep, intensive electroconvulsive therapy, sensory deprivation, and thorazine, which
all the while like playing on a loop, crazy for fear.
Exactly, just to make things as hard as possible for them. So. So this was, and this was all illegal as well. It was completely illegal. This experiment.
I stole that joke that was from The Simpsons.
I know,
long time ago.
It's on hold. Yeah, the Michael Jackson episode. So this was entirely illegal and was kind of funded in dodgy means. But Cameron was really happy because he obviously had his research and treatment being funded by the CIA. So in the 60s. $69,000 was a lot of money, and that's what he was given by the CIA.
How much?
$69,000.
I still don't.
And then he was given an additional
I don't think that's a lot of money.
Hold on, later on.
I'm just gonna $69,000.
But he also got given another $500,000 shortly after.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all right. I don't have to Google that. That's fine.
But, so his technique that brought him into the project, psychic drive-in. So.
Psychic drive-in?
Psychic drive-in.
Like a drive-in movie theater?
No, so in order to repattern the brain, just like teach you, break you down and kind
pattern.
Repattern the brain.
Pattern?
As in a pattern.
Or patent. What are you saying?
REPATTERN. Pattern.
Pattern.
Yeah, pattern. So they stick for 16.
You sound like a pirate.
Yeah. So this is his technique he came up with that CIA gave him all the money for. The process for 16 hours a day, recordings of his voice would be played to you. And so they would have been repeated roughly 500,000 times in total.
Jesus Christ. And these were these volunteers or no, crazy mental institution patients? Yeah,
they I think, but it was a mixture. I think some people, I'll get into that, the people they were using. Some people, but a lot of people didn't realize what they were getting into. So you would be played for 16 hours a day for the first 10 days, recordings that contained personal negative messages, and then followed by another 10 days of positive messages.
Can you give me an example, Reese?
And I don't have that.
But you're saying personal negative messages.
So he would record messages saying, "Hi, Jesse, you're a prick." And that would just be 10 days on a loop. And then for the other 10 days, it would be like, "Hey, Jesse, I kind of like you a bit more, but you're still a bit of a prick."
Add on audio tape now. Reese and Jesse tell you you're a prick.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, we could like that. Could we make that like a Patreon tier?
Well, that you get, we try and brainwash you with 16 hours of looped audio a day.
Or we tell you you're a prick. Yeah. So at least one person would pay for that. You know that.
But this isn't as fucked up as drug-induced sleep, which is another thing they did. So they would put patients into an artificial coma, and they would be in a sleep room, as it was called, for up to 86 days.
In a coma?
Yeah, in a drug-induced coma, and they were given the combined sleep periods with injections of hallucinogenic drugs.
Hold on.
As
So
well
while
as
they're asleep,
shocks and playing them recorded messages.
While they're asleep.
So you induced coma for 86 days, given hallucinogenic drugs, and played pre-recorded messages constantly.
Jesus Christ.
And electrocuted sometimes.
Jesus.
So an electric.
Hold on. What happened when they woke up?
I imagine they probably didn't feel good.
Thank you, doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that diagnosis. That was Jesus. All right. So you don't know.
I will get to it.
You just imagine they didn't feel good.
There's a bit more information. So the other thing they did electroconvulsive therapy. So 2 to 3 sessions a day of 650 volt shocks that lasted 1 second. After 30 to 40 daily sessions, Cameron progressively reduced the sessions and finished the treatment after a 2-year follow-up with 1 session per month. Just being zapped in the brain. The other element was sensory deprivation. So patients were deprived of their senses by covering ears, eyes, or skin. Furthermore, they were given very little food and water and oxygen, and instead injected with drugs to keep them in a paralyzed state. And then they would suffer anxiety, so they would then also sedate them as well. So this was all like,
Jesus Christ,
it's really dark stuff, and we're then going to try and they were basically trying to reprogram their brains, like you hear about like the Manchurian Candidate or like the soldier. It was all that is kind of inspired by this kind of weird.
And this all took place in Montreal.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. All right.
So a lot of the participants were people who were suffering from things like depression and schizophrenia, and they were sold that it would be a treatment.
Oh, those fuckers. So hold on. What was their goal though? Because they know damn well it wasn't going to be. Well, maybe they didn't know. Maybe
no, they didn't.
I don't know. What was their goal?
They were like, "Hey, can we rewrite people's brains? Can we get if we can?"
What was it? What was their ultimate goal though? Was it to
see if you can rewrite somebody's personality or get them to change their opinions so that they can be more useful? So maybe you capture a spy who's like, "No, I won't talk to you because communism's the best."
So this was a war effort. This wasn't about curing schizophrenia or
no. This was the CIA wanted to see if you could brainwash people to then get more information off them or use.
So what's the CIA doing in Montreal?
They're funding this professor illegally and under the books to kind of hidden from all the paper trails, just because they wanted somebody to get answers for them.
So they couldn't do it in their own country. So under they paid him money.
I guess they could have, but they chose. I think this Donald Ewan Cameron was like the expert. So they were like, we need to fund this expert. He just so happens to be in Montreal.
Okay.
All right. So none of the patients,
and he was Canadian.
He was Scottish, but he'd been living in Canada he'd been living in Canada for a long time and had worked in like mental institutions in Manitoba and things. But none of these patients, I think these patients were told that this was like, hey, this is an experimental treatment. Sign up, and we're going to see what we can do with you. And none of them had informed consent of the procedures they were going to go through. They weren't made aware of what was actually going to happen to them, and it's seen as a kind of it's basically illegal.
You think?
Yeah, and they treated children and adults.
Oh Jesus!
For up to 3 years with these treatments,
and everyone was suffering from mental disorders and living in mental institutions. These are where they got all their patients from.
When I said they didn't feel good, so patients suffered from amnesia for the rest of their lives and had to relearn a lot of the skills they already had before. So they forgot, almost wiped their minds clean to a certain extent.
Wow.
And some were reduced to a childlike state and had to be potty trained again.
Oh my God. Jesus.
I told you this one was fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really like the fucked up ones, Reese.
Don't like the fucked up
I think
ones.
You love them.
This is one of the most unethical things you can imagine happening. I don't like it.
Oh my God.
What blows my mind is that this happened in Montreal in the 60s.
The fact that this happened at all is gross. But like the fact that it happened in Montreal, yeah, well, I mean, it has nothing really to do with Montreal, does it? It has everything to do with that guy and just where he happened to be residing.
Yeah. And their family members described patients as unstable and were unable to live a normal life afterwards. One patient was Jean Steele, and her daughter said that after she came back, she was like never the same. And she would sit alone in the dark, write codes on the wall, and according to her daughter, her emotions were stripped away and it took her soul.
Jesus Christ.
But it's completely unknown how many people took part in it. But over 300 people have applied for compensation with the government. The CIA destroyed all the records. There's very little paper, But
the government
evidence.
had nothing to do with it.
No, I know, but it was allowed to happen, and this is the thing. So,
hold on, the government knew this was happening?
That's a lot of the records have been destroyed. So it was kind of what you do have is everyone knows this professor was doing these experiments at the university. Everyone knows there are hundreds of people who have been through this traumatic experience and they're saying, hey, I need compensation. And this wasn't until the 90s they started getting compensation. And obviously something illegal happened. There's no paper trail. No one's been convicted. No one's gone to prison. No one's really put an official investigation into it. It just kind of happened, and everyone's trying to kind of like move on at the expense of the victims, really. So on December the 15th, 2017, there was a CBC article that said Trudeau government gag order in CIA brainwashing case silences victims, lawyer says.
Wow.
So I'll just read you the article. A recent Department of Justice gag order in an out-of-court settlement was designed to avoid responsibility and avert compensation to more victims and their families, said Alan Stein, who has represented numerous survivors who were once patients of the Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal. Stein told CBC News that successive federal governments have demanded confidentiality agreements in at least 5 of the cases he has settled in the last few decades. If they hadn't been confidential and the settlements had been had publicity they should have, a lot of the victims would have come forward and gone to court.
Wow.
So even now, like the government is trying to like, shh, stop talking about it.
Well, it doesn't make them look very good, does it?
The issue with like compensation and everything, it's just messed up. So the government has like been giving like money to some families and basically trying to hush it up and not get much publicity and just quietly deal with it without everyone knowing. So
kind of like settling out of court deals idea.
Yeah, but don't talk about it. We'll give you $100,000, but you can't tell anyone. Just go away.
Right.
So none of Cameron's personal files about the experiment survived. None of any other files about the experiments.
I'm willing to bet they have survived
or are still classified. Apparently,
right? Yeah.
So yeah. But then Donald had a good life after that. Cameron had a good life after that. He What's his full name? Donald is Trump.
Yeah,
Donald Trump was one of their patients.
That would explain a lot, actually.
So in 1961, Cameron became president of the World Psychiatric.
Hey, man, look what we did. We have a man who thinks he's a carrot.
Yeah,
his name is Donald J. Trump, and he says he's going to be president.
Just do that on a loop. You will be president. You will be president.
You are a carrot. You are a carrot.
So Cameron went on to be both the president of the American and Canadian Psychiatric Association, and then eventually president of the World Psychiatric Association.
Jesus.
So it didn't hinder his career at all, this illegal experimentation that destroyed the lives of hundreds of people who thought they were about to be helped. So, and then, even today, the federal government is covering up the story, or at least trying to minimize the story behind it.
Wow. Well, that's disgusting, and will probably give me nightmares later. Thanks.
Yeah. So if you're into hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and long-term induced comas, then this is the story for you to dig into. You
need to put that at the beginning.
What a pitch!
You don't warn them at the end. Okay, that's warning. What you just heard was disturbing.
Yeah. So it is pretty disturbing, but also like
immensely so.
But the thing I find crazy is the effect it had on people. It completely wiped their memories and like reduced them to like a child. Like is obviously like it makes you wonder. Like they didn't learn. Maybe it didn't teach them what they thought it would. But they, what would you do with those techniques and that information?
I don't know, man. If the military's involved at all, they'll find a use for it. It's fucking gross.
So mine could. This is why I said I wanted to do a more cheerful historic drunken one before this one.
No, fair enough. Yeah, and I'm glad you did. But like, no, like this was. I don't mind episodes like this because like it's not gory and depressing for gory and depressing's sake, which I know you love those ones.
I don't like gory and depressing.
Oh, you do. You
like
know you do.
And gory.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. That's right. The order is important, Jesse. The sequence is important. But this was like depressing but fascinating, you know. So that's okay.
Yeah. Depressing but fascinating. That's a good name for a podcast.
There you go. We're just giving you all kinds of good shit.
If you want to launch a rival podcast called Depressing, and I can't even remember what I just said. God. Anyway,
I don't know. Well, that was fun. Yay! Thanks, Reese.
Yeah, no problem. And so this week's call to action is.
I had a call to action, but did you have one?
Did.
No, if you.
No, I was going to just make up a stupid one off the top of my head.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a stupid one that I made up off the top of my head, not shortly before this moment right now. So it could just be a battle of who's a stupider, if you want to compare.
Okay.
I was going to say to make a stupid podcast and send it to us. I mean, like the stupider, the better. If you just download the Anchor app, that's how I got started in podcasting years ago, actually, is the Anchor app. And it's for like Android and iPhone, and it's the stupidest, simplest way. You could have a podcast. I proved it to a couple of friends. I'm like, you could have a podcast in 2 minutes. And we did. And they've since put out 3 episodes. It's called Wow, We're, which stands for We're Owen Wilson. And all they do is they just impersonate Owen Wilson saying wow. They have 3 episodes. So
Jesse, I've got a great idea. You know, I used to do a secret podcast on...
I used to listen to it, the Commuter Chronicles.
Yeah.
The Commuter Chronicles. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah,
it was
and
great.
You did yours. We should release. I'm gonna find it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it off the internet, and I'm gonna release those episodes on the Patreon just for patrons.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I kind of like my old podcast. What a Glorious Morning still existing out there.
Fine.
People still trickle in and listen to it. And I don't know why.
Well, the reason mine was secret was that I was ranting about the job I hated while still working there.
I know, it was great. Because I worked there too. And I hated it just as much as you did.
And then I had to carpool and I couldn't record while driving anymore because I had just given a lift to someone.
Do I know who you were carpooling with? I must have if you were carpooling to work.
Bald head.
I'm
not going to say
there were several bald heads. Okay.
One of the bald heads.
One of the bald heads.
Yeah.
So send us your stupid podcast, and maybe we'll play it on our show if it's stupid enough. And it has to be really stupid.
I tell you what. Here's what you got to do. You got to say, "This is the title of my show. This is this is what it's about." And then the third thing is just give us a 30-second sample. So my name is Reese. My podcast is called The Sounds of Plants Dying, and it's just me recording the sound of a dying plant. Here it is.
I love it. So there's my
show.
There's your show.
Like, subscribe, give me some reviews, guys. I really hope that this podcast is going to do well. I think I found my niche, and I think if you like plants dying, or at least the sound of a plant dying, or a loved one does, spread the word. I've worked really hard on this. I spent $3,000 on microphones, and my wife won't talk to me because she was supposed to go on vacation. And it does take up all of my spare time editing it. And I know I've had 3 downloads yesterday. I'm hoping tomorrow we'll have 4.
That was great. That was my example. That was fantastic. Jesus.
The sounds of plants dying.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys. Bye, everyone.